So for you people wanting to experience a different story from Black Clover, you have another version for you available right now, which is the first chapter of Black Clover Quartet Knights manga adaptation. Yes, this is true. They are actually adding the manga version of that game story towards you guys right now, as the first chapter is available immediately. You can go out and read it. It is in raw. However, as someone that has actually beaten the game, I will be able to give you a quick little summary of what exactly the first chapter is entirely about. Here's something I want to say as well, because this is kind of going to be like a sort of rounded up version of chapter 1 / my final thoughts on the game itself, because there's a lot of things to say about the game, as there have been a lot of recent updates, and I know I had as well a few people asking, it's like, you know, is this game worth to get? And I can wholeheartedly say with that, no, not exactly, and it's not for the reasons you think it is. It is actually a fun little arena shooter, and I actually had a blast with the first week I was playing it on. However, this game immediately was dead as fuck online. Now, I like to say I was playing on the PC version, so again, less people playing on that, and there's no cross-platforming, because fuck Sony, they really hate having cross-platforming a lot of the time. And again, like, that would alleviate the issue ever so slightly, but however though, it really is frustrating to the fact that it's like, again, this is a game where it's like, it heavily relies on that online capability. Like, as much as I love, like, the Storm games, as much as I have fun with them, I can wholeheartedly say, like, a lot of people would not have, like, continued, like, playing those games. Like, it wouldn't have been that memorable if, like, Storm 2 and Storm 3 and even all the other, like, spin-off ones that they had before 4, like, if they didn't have that online stuff. Like, that was the two things I majorly played back in the day when I was still in high school, was Naruto Storm 2 when I had my PS3 and Modern Warfare 2. Like, those games destroyed any life that I had with me and my buddies. We just fucking played that shit and we loved it. Like, just amazing times with those games. And then Black Ops 1, it was like that kind of beautiful time where it's like nothing could go wrong in all the games and all that. Was just wonderful to play online, and there wasn't any rage quits or anything like that. But here's the thing though, like with the first chapter, they go through the story, which, to say the least, the one thing I had an issue with Quartet Knights apart from that is this big promised story mode, and the story mode is 3 hours long. And I know this isn't a world where it's like, oh well, 4 hours on a main campaign game and stuff like that, or even 6, and I'm like, yeah, but like with the whole original story, I was kind of expecting a little bit more, or at least anything, just even some little things about the world, or just little snippets. They could have used this chance to kind of like at least like enlighten the world a little bit more, let us know about more of the kind of areas, give us some like little quips for some certain characters, but they didn't do any of that, and it really upsets me. And it's like the fact that it has animated cutscenes as well, and this is the first big like main game for the series, and again, like with Black Clover, with its popularity and everything, I think it's got itself a decent audience now. I don't think it had at all a chance with Bandai's poor marketing, alongside with like, I don't think a lot of people are gonna buy like a Black Clover game, being genuinely honest, like on there, apart from the diehard fans, which I platinumed the game, so like, you know, take that as what you will, as like, I do really enjoy this series, and to be fair, it's not that hard to platinum Quartet Knights, it's really easy. So here's the thing with the game though, as we immediately cut to the first panel, which, to say the least, this is being done by another author. This is being done by Yasuharu, I believe his name is, and I'm not familiar with his works. All he's done is 2 very short series, 2-volume series, and one of them was like a Dragon Dogma's manga adaptation, so take that as what you will. So he's used to doing game adaptations, if anything. Overall, do not expect the series to be long, though. Expect it to be 2 volumes, 3 volumes, like, if anything. But we start off with this Lord Freeze guy being pretty much attacked, and his whole household being burnt down by these sort of like no-names that you can't really see, and he pretty much curses them out, and he will have his vengeance one day in his life. Which cuts to like our color page, which you see a young Yami next to Asta, where you also see him as an older version, and some sort of woman kind of next to him as well. And we find out like many years later when we're back with Asta and the gang, where they're going to be exploring the remains of the Friest Manor, which used to be someone that served the king by his side, who was known as Friest the Seer because of his magic abilities that he had, where he was able to do some crazy stuff with like his powers. Apparently he was able to predict the future in some ways, and he was one of the only few people by the king's side that wasn't a full noble, so you can tell why people had a huge grudge against him, where it's like he wasn't born into being a noble like a lot of the families. But that probably would explain why, because noble families and the king's shit here and all that are horrible, and that's why they have a lot of grudges. And we can tell that this story is going to be featuring Finral. It's got Asta, Noelle, and Yami in there. And again, I always wonder why the hell did they take Finral with them, because he's the one character that won't do anything. Because they even say as well in the in this adaptation that this takes place during all of that. This takes place after the we meet the White Knight Eyes, all of that kind of stuff going down. Like we kind of after the Snow Village stuff, like when we first encounter them before the Sea Temple arc. So that would explain why certain characters are here and there, and that like they're not familiar with a lot of them. So when we get to see this like sort of like going down, like they arrive in this whole little area, and oh no, they're being attacked by little earth elementals and all that. Like get your World of Warcraft, your Final Fantasy 14 elementals attacking you, going in, and you see Asta like pulling out the swords, and as well the way how they describe everything as well, it is being heavily implied that this is also trying to go in for a newer audience that people are not familiar, which again that has happened. I knew a buddy that actually checked out like the spin-off fairy tale stuff. Like he checked out the Road Knight one, I believe, before he checked out. He was like, I might give that a shot. Like again, that does happen. Like I've even seen that in like a store once before, where it's like someone read the Origami, like one of the spin-offs to that, and then they're like, oh shit, I actually want to check out this series. Like it does occasionally happen. Like. So they might as well just try and do it, just in case we're saying, hey, this is who this kid is, and like this is what he's kind of up to and everything. So again, that's something on there, and you see him pull out the two swords, and Noelle's there helping as well with her shield powers, and then also as well the Roar the Sea Dragon attack, trying to go in there, which was, you know, it was all nice and dandy to see all that. And then Yami kind of goes off on his own. Like he kind of remembers himself being here as like a kid, like very young, where he met a woman there known as Kana, and seeing that she was a lot different from what he remembers, where she has like this really like messed up veins going across her eye and everything, and seemingly having a lot of hatred for the kingdom as well, which then we find out after like Asta's group takes care of the whole like encounter, that oh no, they arrive there and young Yami is here, which he doesn't have a recollection of anything at all. He doesn't know who Asta or Noelle or anyone is. He doesn't seem to really trust them at all. And then he starts picking a fight with them, which leads into Asta and young Yami having a fight with one another, which is pretty much how it goes down in the game. And the very last panel, we see this little demon thing flying around, which Kana on her throne is able to look upon and see these two fighting. So to say the least and all that, the first chapter is pretty much how it goes down with the first technical episode, because a thing to say with the game as well, if the people that don't know, the game has two sides of the story. You have the Asta side, and then you have the Yami side of the story. So it is showing with at least what they're doing is that we're probably going to be seeing both at the same time. I imagine more we're going to be seeing it from Asta's perspective, but we'll be seeing sides of what Yami's been kind of up to as well along the way. Interesting thing about Yami as well, which I only found out when I was doing the Quartet Night stuff, is that Yami is about 14 in this young version, which Asta is older than him. He's like 16, I think, at this point. And old Yami, or shall I say, the man that I thought was like in his fucking 30s, like I thought he was in his late 30s if anything, like at the youngest and all that, is apparently like 24, 25, and I was like, holy shit man, you fucking buffed out in 10 years, I was gonna say. I'm like, oh, he's like, I'm nearly the same age as him. I can't, I'm not anime buff, I'm just a fat guy in like Britain. Oh. Wow, does that not take your fucking wind out of your sails? I'll tell you that much. I'm like, okay. Now I feel even more shitty. Overall, like the first chapter is fine. again, they added a few little scenes here and there, and I really hope, if anything, because they've got overall 13 chapters, 10 chapters to tell this story. Like, again, like, it's not going to be long. I can tell that wholeheartedly. The most I could ever see of this is being 24, because it's, like, even that they wanted to pad some stuff out. Overall, I just, like, I want them to kind of add some nice little additional scenes that we didn't get with Kana and Yami, that we didn't get with, like, certain characters like Asta or Yuno, and I'm like, hopefully they will, how they handle some of this stuff, I'm kind of curious to see how it will be, but overall, I'm not going to be, like, blown away by this adaptation. I will say, if anything, I really do like the guy's art style. I think, like, I really do like the, like, kind of the faces he does. He does, like, this huge, big, massive grin and smirks and everything, and it's like, you can tell the difference between his versions of the characters and Tabata as well. Like, I definitely noticed the most with Noel and his Asta, like, were the ones I noticed the most on that. Like, I was surprised by his fin roll. It was really on point. Same thing with, like, his, old Yami as well. I was like, oh, they're actually really decent, so... Again, like, I'm very curious to see what you guys think of comments down below, because I believe that, like, normally how this goes with sort of, like, these adaptations and everything is that they are just, normally handed off to, like, their assistants, so I imagine this guy's been an assistant at Tabata for a while, like, maybe not. I would have to check the volumes to see, like, who's actually been on his side, because I believe it is Yasuhiro that does this, so, overall, like, curious to see what you guys think about this adaptation, but that is all for me. Thanks always for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.